A blinding explosion rocked the remote mining colony of Lathan 4, sending miners scrambling for cover. Ethan Hart, a rugged, resourceful engineer from Australia, instinctively ducked as debris rained down around him. His heart pounded as he assessed the damage. The syndicate's relentless pursuit of ore had pushed the colony's machinery to the brink, and now, it seemed, they were paying the price. Through the haze of smoke and dust, Ethan spotted a young woman with vibrant blue skin and glowing eyes being dragged away by guards. Her desperate cries for mercy cut through the chaos, compelling him to act. He knew the syndicate's methods too well. Once they had someone, that person rarely returned the same. Ethan's mind raced. He quickly calculated a route through the maze of machinery and rubble. He couldn't explain why, but he felt an undeniable urge to help her. Maybe it was the sheer injustice of it all, or perhaps it was the haunted look in her eyes that mirrored his own struggles. Either way, he couldn't stand by and do nothing. "Hey! Over here!" Ethan shouted, waving a wrench in the air to distract the guards. They turned, momentarily confused by his audacity. Seizing the opportunity, Ethan hurled a nearby toolbox, sending tools clattering across the floor and creating a cacophony that masked his true intentions. With the guards momentarily disoriented, Ethan darted forward and grabbed the woman's arm. "Come with me if you want to live," he whispered urgently. The woman hesitated only for a second before nodding. Together, they sprinted through the labyrinthine tunnels of the mine, their path lit only by flickering emergency lights. Ethan led her to a hidden alcove, a makeshift safe house he had discovered during his years of working in the colony. As they caught their breath, Ethan finally had a moment to study her more closely. She was young, probably in her early 20s, with delicate features that contrasted sharply with the grime and exhaustion etched into her skin. Her eyes, though filled with fear, held a spark of defiance. "What's your name?" Ethan asked, his voice gentle but firm. "Serena," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm a Valtor." Ethan's eyebrows shot up in surprise. The Valtor were known for their intelligence and telepathic abilities, traits that made them both revered and feared. The syndicate's interest in her suddenly made a chilling kind of sense. "I'm Ethan. We need to stay hidden until it's safe to move. Do you have any idea why they're after you?" he asked, although he already had a hunch. Serena looked away, her expression pained. "They discovered my abilities. They want to use me to control the colony, and the people in it." Ethan's stomach churned. The syndicate's tyranny was bad enough without adding mind control to their arsenal. He knew he had to get Serena out, not just for her sake, but for the future of everyone in the colony. "We'll figure something out," Ethan said, his voice filled with determination. "But we need to be smart about this. Do you have any allies here?" Serena shook her head. "No. My people, they betrayed me. Sold me out to the syndicate for a handful of credits." Ethan clenched his fists, anger bubbling up inside him. The idea of betraying one's own for profit was something he couldn't stomach. He had lost too many friends to the syndicate's greed and cruelty. This was the final straw. "We need to get you to the resistance," he said, formulating a plan. "They'd been looking for someone like you. Your abilities could turn the tide." Serena nodded, hope flickering in her eyes. "Thank you, Ethan. I don't know why you're helping me, but thank you." Ethan shrugged, a grim smile on his face. "I've been in this hellhole too long to ignore someone in need. Besides, it's about time we fought back." As they sat in the dimly lit alcove, a sense of camaraderie began to form between them. They knew the road ahead would be perilous, but they were determined to fight for their freedom. Together, they would defy the syndicate's oppression and rally others to their cause. The distant sounds of alarms and marching boots reminded them that time was short. Ethan took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. With Serena by his side, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The spark of rebellion had been ignited, and there was no turning back now. The stale air of the hidden alcove pressed heavily on Ethan and Serena as they waited for the chaos outside to subside. The distant sound of marching boots and alarms gradually faded, but their urgency remained palpable. We need to move before they start a thorough search, Ethan whispered, breaking the tense silence. He peeked out of their hiding spot, scanning for any sign of danger. Serena, still shaken but resolute, nodded. Where are we going? There's a resistance cell not too far from here. They've got a safe house where we can regroup and plan our next steps, Ethan replied, his voice firm. They navigated the labyrinthine tunnels of the mine, their steps echoing softly in the dim light. Ethan led the way, his familiarity with the colony's underbelly guiding them through a maze of corridors and hidden passages. As they approached a nondescript section of the mine, Ethan tapped a seemingly ordinary rock wall in a specific sequence. A hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow passageway. They slipped inside, and the door closed behind them with a soft hiss. The passage led to a small underground chamber where a group of resistance fighters awaited. Jax, a grizzled veteran with a scar running down his cheek, stood up as they entered. His eyes narrowed, taking in Serena's appearance. Who's this? Jax's voice was rough, tinged with suspicion. This is Serena. She's a Valtor and has powerful telepathic abilities. The Syndicate wants to use her to control the colony, Ethan explained quickly, his tone urgent. The tension in the room was palpable as Jax scrutinized Serena. Finally, he nodded. All right. If she can help, we'll need every advantage we can get. Suri, a tech-savvy alien with iridescent scales, stepped forward. We've been trying to establish secure communication with other enslaved colonies. If Serena can amplify our signals, we might be able to coordinate a larger rebellion. Serena's eyes widened with a mix of hope and fear. I'll do whatever I can to help. But we need to be careful. The Syndicate will stop at nothing to get me back. The Resistance members gathered around a makeshift table, discussing their next move. Ethan watched Serena closely, noting the determination in her eyes. Despite everything she had been through, she was ready to fight. All right, Jax said, finalizing their plan. We'll move at dawn. Serena, you'll work with Zuri to enhance our communication network. Ethan, you're on guard duty. We can't afford any more surprises. As the meeting broke up, Ethan approached Serena. You okay? She nodded, though her eyes betrayed her anxiety. I've never been part of something like this before. But I know it's the right thing to do. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We're all scared. But we've got each other's backs. We'll get through this. Serena smiled faintly, appreciating the solidarity. Thank you, Ethan. For everything. Throughout the night, the Resistance members prepared for the upcoming operation. Ethan kept a vigilant watch, his senses heightened by the ever-present threat of discovery. Serena worked closely with Zuri, her telepathic abilities proving invaluable in fine-tuning their communication devices. As dawn approached, the tension in the air was almost tangible. The Resistance was ready to strike, but they knew the risks were immense. Failure was not an option. Ethan and Serena stood together, watching the first rays of sunlight filter through the cracks in the mine. The colony was waking up, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath its surface. We're going to make history today, Ethan said, his voice filled with quiet resolve. Serena nodded, her eyes reflecting the same determination. For all the oppressed. For everyone who believes in freedom. Their moment of solidarity was interrupted by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching. Ethan's heart raced as he signaled for silence. They had been found. The hidden door burst open, and Syndicate guards poured in, weapons at the ready. The Resistance fighters sprang into action, engaging in a fierce battle for survival. Ethan and Serena fought side by side, their synergy evident as they defended their position. Serena's telepathic abilities gave them a crucial edge, allowing them to anticipate the guards' movements and coordinate their attacks. Despite their efforts, the Resistance was outnumbered and outgunned. Just as hope seemed to wane, Serena unleashed a powerful telepathic blast, incapacitating the guards and giving them a brief respite. Go! Jack shouted, his voice strained. Get Serena out of here! We'll hold them off! Ethan grabbed Serena's hand and led her through a secondary tunnel, their escape route planned meticulously. They ran through the twisting passageways, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. As they emerged into the open air, Ethan looked back at the mine, a sense of dread mixing with determination. The fight was far from over, but they had taken the first step toward freedom. Serena squeezed his hand, her eyes filled with gratitude and resolve. "We'll come back for them. We'll free everyone." Ethan nodded, his jaw set with determination. "Yes, we will. And we won't stop until the syndicate falls." With a final glance at the beleaguered colony, they set off into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Ethan and Serena trudged through the rocky terrain, the remnants of the mining colony behind them. The distant rumble of conflict echoed in their minds as they pressed onward, determined to rally support for their cause. The path ahead was treacherous, but their resolve was unshakable. As they reached a secluded outpost, a hidden entrance revealed itself, guarded by a few wary resistance fighters. Ethan stepped forward, holding up his hands in a gesture of peace. "We're friends," he announced. "We need to speak with your leader." The guards exchanged glances before nodding and leading them into the underground hideout. The air was thick with tension and the scent of metal and sweat. Inside, the dim light revealed a bustling hub of activity. Fighters and strategists were deep in discussion, their faces etched with determination. A tall, imposing figure approached them. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned Ethan and Serena. "I'm Kieran, leader of this outpost. What brings you here?" Ethan took a deep breath. "We escaped from Lathan 4. The Syndicate is using telepathic vaulters like Serena here to control the colonies. We need your help to stop them." Kieran's eyes widened slightly as he looked at Serena. "A telepath? That changes things. We've been trying to coordinate a rebellion, but communication has been a major hurdle." Serena stepped forward, her voice steady. "I can help. I've already worked with a resistance cell to amplify signals. We can do it again, on a larger scale." Kieran nodded, his expression shifting to one of grim determination. "All right. We have a plan, but we'll need every advantage we can get." Ethan and Serena were quickly integrated into the outpost's operations. Serena collaborated with the tech team, using her abilities to enhance their communication network. Ethan, meanwhile, shared tactical insights with the fighters, his engineering background providing innovative solutions to their logistical problems. Days turned into nights as they prepared for the uprising. Tensions rose, but so did their resolve. Serena's abilities proved invaluable, enabling them to send encrypted messages to other colonies, rallying support and coordinating attacks. One evening, as the final preparations were underway, Ethan found Serena sitting alone, her eyes closed in concentration. He approached her quietly, not wanting to disturb her focus. "How are you holding up?" he asked softly. Serena opened her eyes and smiled wearily. "It's exhausting, but knowing we're making a difference keeps me going." Ethan sat beside her, his expression thoughtful. "You're incredible, you know that? Your strength, it's inspiring." Serena blushed, a rare moment of vulnerability. "I couldn't have done this without you, Ethan. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Their moment of solidarity was interrupted by the sound of hurried footsteps. Kieran appeared, his face set with urgency. "It's time. The other colonies are ready. We strike at dawn." As dawn approached, the outpost buzzed with nervous energy. Fighters suited up, weapons were checked and rechecked, and final strategies were discussed. Ethan and Serena stood side by side, their determination mirrored in each other's eyes. The uprising began with a coordinated assault on the Syndicate's primary communication hub. Explosions rocked the facility as resistance fighters stormed in, taking down guards and disabling security systems. Serena, in a secure location, used her telepathy to guide the fighters, her mind a beacon of clarity amidst the chaos. Ethan led a team through the labyrinthine corridors, his engineering skills allowing them to bypass traps and security measures. They encountered heavy resistance, but their resolve was unwavering. Every step forward was a step closer to freedom. In the midst of battle, a fierce firefight erupted. Ethan and his team were pinned down, the odds seemingly insurmountable. Just as hope began to wane, Serena's voice echoed in their minds, urging them to hold on. A surge of energy and resolve washed over them, fueling their determination. With renewed vigor, they pushed forward, breaking through the syndicate's defenses. They reached the central control room, where a final confrontation awaited. Thorn, the syndicate's ruthless leader, stood at the helm, a cold smile on his face. "You think you can stop me?" Thorn sneered. "You're nothing but a nuisance." Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady. "We're more than that. We're the spark of rebellion, and we're here to end your tyranny." A fierce battle ensued, with Thorn's elite guards clashing against the resistance fighters. The room filled with the sounds of gunfire and clashing metal. Serena, channeling her telepathic abilities, provided crucial support, predicting Thorn's moves and guiding the fighters. Despite their efforts, Thorn proved to be a formidable opponent. Just as the situation seemed dire, Serena unleashed a powerful telepathic blast, momentarily incapacitating Thorn. Ethan seized the opportunity, delivering a decisive blow that ended the battle. As the dust settled, the resistance fighters began to secure the facility. The communication hub was theirs, and the syndicate's grip on the colonies had been shattered. Ethan and Serena stood amidst the wreckage, their hearts filled with hope and determination. "We did it," Serena said softly, her voice tinged with disbelief. Ethan nodded, a smile breaking across his face. "This is just the beginning. We've won the battle, but the war is far from over. Together, we'll keep fighting until everyone is free." Their victory marked a turning point, the dawn of a new era of resistance. As they prepared for the challenges ahead, their bond strengthened, and their resolve became unbreakable. The spark of rebellion had ignited a flame, one that would burn brightly until the syndicate's tyranny was but a distant memory. The sky above the liberated communication hub glowed with the first light of dawn. Ethan and Serena stood amidst the aftermath of the fierce battle, the air heavy with the scent of smoke and victory. The syndicate's stranglehold on the colony had been broken, but the real fight was just beginning. Ethan turned to Serena, her blue skin illuminated by the rising sun. "This is just the start," he said, his voice resolute. "We've taken the hub, but we need to secure the colony and rally more support." Serena nodded, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and determination. "We need to ensure the other colonies know what's happening. We have to spread the word and give them hope." Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of Kieran, the resistance leader. His usually stern face bore a rare smile of approval. "You two did well. The communication lines are secure, and our messages are being broadcast to the neighboring colonies. It's only a matter of time before they join our cause." "Good," Ethan replied. "But Thorn's forces won't stay down for long. We need to fortify our position and prepare for their retaliation." Kieran nodded in agreement. "We've already started. But there's something else we need to address." He looked pointedly at Serena. "Your telepathic abilities. They're a game changer. We need to find a way to harness them without putting you at too much risk." Serena's expression hardened with resolve. "I'll do whatever it takes. We can't afford to lose this momentum." Ethan's heart swelled with pride. Serena's courage was undeniable, and it inspired everyone around her. "Then let's get to work," he said. "We've got a colony to liberate." The next few days were a blur of activity. Resistance fighters fortified their defenses, trained new recruits, and prepared for the inevitable counterattack. Serena worked tirelessly with Suri, the tech-savvy alien, to amplify their telepathic communications. The once oppressed miners and laborers began to see a glimmer of hope in their grim existence. One evening, as they took a brief respite, Ethan and Serena sat on a hill overlooking the colony. The stars above twinkled brightly, a stark contrast to the turmoil below. "It's hard to believe we've come this far," Serena said softly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Ethan nodded. "We've fought hard, but there's still a long way to go. Thorn won't let us have this victory without a fight." Serena turned to him, her eyes searching his. "Do you ever doubt what we're doing? The risks we're taking?" Ethan considered her question carefully. "There are always doubts," he admitted. "But seeing the hope we've sparked in these people makes it worth it. We're giving them a chance at freedom. That's worth any risk. Their moment was interrupted by a sudden commotion from the camp. They hurried back to find Kieran rallying the fighters. Scouts have spotted Thorn's forces approaching. They're mobilizing for a counterattack. The tension in the air was palpable as the resistance prepared for the impending assault. Fighters took their positions, weapons ready, and the defenses were reinforced. Ethan and Serena stood side by side, their resolve unshakable. The ground trembled as Thorn's forces advanced, their numbers formidable. The first wave of attackers clashed with the resistance's front lines, the sounds of battle echoing across the colony. Ethan directed the defenses, his strategic mind working overtime to counter the enemy's tactics. Serena, her telepathic abilities at full strength, coordinated the resistance's movements, anticipating Thorn's maneuvers and providing critical support. The battle raged on, each side fighting with relentless determination. Despite their efforts, the resistance was being pushed back. Thorn's forces were overwhelming, and the situation grew dire. In the midst of the chaos, Ethan spotted Thorn himself, directing his troops with ruthless efficiency. "We have to take him out," Ethan said to Serena, pointing towards Thorn. "He's the key to their coordination." Serena nodded, her eyes narrowing with focus. "Cover me. I'll try to disrupt his control." Ethan and a small team fought their way through the battlefield, creating an opening for Serena. She closed her eyes, channeling her telepathic energy towards Thorn. The effort was immense, and she could feel the strain, but she pressed on, determined to break his hold. Thorn's expression twisted with pain and confusion as Serena's telepathic assault hit him. His commands faltered, and the syndicate forces began to lose cohesion. Sensing the shift, the resistance fighters renewed their efforts, pushing back with renewed vigor. Ethan seized the moment, charging towards Thorn. In a fierce confrontation, he managed to disarm the syndicate leader, delivering a decisive blow that ended the battle. As Thorn fell, his forces crumbled, retreating in disarray. The resistance fighters cheered, their victory hard-won but complete. The colony was theirs, and the syndicate's grip had been shattered. Ethan and Serena stood amidst the aftermath, their hearts filled with a mix of relief and triumph. "We did it," Serena said, her voice trembling with emotion. Ethan smiled, exhaustion and pride evident in his eyes. "This is just the beginning. We've shown that we can fight back. Now, we need to spread this victory to every colony under syndicate control." As the sun rose over the liberated colony, Ethan and Serena knew their journey was far from over. But with each step forward, they were closer to a future where freedom reigned, and the tyranny of the syndicate was but a distant memory. Their bond, forged in the crucible of battle, would lead them to new victories and the ultimate liberation of their people.